I mean, I'm sure that most people, when they see you, they got to know what they're getting into, right?
That's the complexities that people who come to see me wrestle with. Sometimes the place that I go for healing is the place that is actually harming me. We have to remember, sometimes we try to diminish the effects of how the church harms people. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep repeating the same behaviors to maintain the same environment in your body. Same is true of our minds.
My last drink was February 27th. I have not had a drink since February 27th. That day I said, if you love yourself, why would you want to continue to do this to yourself?
And the one thing that God requires of us as worshipers is to tell the truth. And sometimes God does not answer the prayers that we're praying because there's a different prayer we need to be asking.
Ooh. Welcome to Vaught Empowers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandy Harvey. Y'all, today we get to talk about a little mental health, but we're going to put a little faith on it. I'm so excited for this conversation. Campbell is an award-winning trauma therapist, best-selling author, and sought-after consultant at the intersection of mental health, faith, and culture. Founder of the Healing Circle Therapy and Wellness Center, she has guided thousands of leaders, creatives, and professionals through the hidden cost of visibility, helping them break cycles, heal deeply, and reclaim their wholeness beyond the clinic. Kobe is a trusted media consultant for film, television, and publishing, ensuring trauma and mental health are portrayed with authenticity and depth. A rising national voice, Kobe has been featured on Good Morning America, WBTV News, and top podcasts like Woman of Off and Permission to Talk with Dr. Jackie Green. Her best-selling book, Why Am I Like This?, has positioned her as a leading authority on trauma and spiritual healing. Kobe believes the brain loves familiarity. Get familiar with joy. Vaught Empowers Talks welcome wife, mother, trauma therapist, author, and consultant, Kobe Campbell, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, girl, you're so beautiful. Look at this, honey. This some teeth, honey. That's a pretty smile. Listen, you are absolutely stunning. I would say as soon as I logged onto your YouTube, when I was researching, I was like, whoo, ain't she cute?
I received. I'm going to carry that compliment with me. Thank you so much.
Listen, I am so excited to talk about this because we were talking off camera. I said, oh, well, we're going to start there.
Yeah.
Because we talk about this intersection of faith and mental health and therapy. And so many of us grew up in churches and spaces where you just pray about it.
Yeah.
And somehow God is going to work it all out.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Woo, I have a lot to say about that. But, when I talk to my clients who are wrestling, they're usually wrestling with the tension of like, if I am not healed, restored by a word that I get from church or a sermon, does that mean I've sinned? Does that mean I don't have faith? And I usually use the analogy of food. Like, God does not just rain down a full meal for us. He gives us access to the ingredients, and then it's up to us to take those ingredients and test them out and figure out what makes a good meal.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true of our mental health, that God has given us the resources. He's given us professionals. He's given us people who have studied and learned. He's given us understanding of the nervous system. He's also given us scripture. He's also given us understanding of sociology and relationships so that we can take the bits and pieces of the wisdom that he's given many people and use that for our personal healing. And that doesn't make it any less faith-based. All the things that are the components that help you heal are things given, created, and produced by God.
Yeah. I mean, you said something just now. You talked about the nervous system, and we're in this day and age of everybody talking about, oh, I regulate your nervous system, baby. Oh, I need him to regulate my nervous system.
Yes, you do.
But how do we begin to regulate our own nervous system?
Yeah. The most accessible way for us to regulate our nervous system is to slow down. We're in a world that wants results quickly. We want everything. We want answers from God quickly.
Girl.
We want success quickly. We want change quickly. We were just talking about you and your beast mode working out. Anyone who works out knows that true transformation in the body takes time and repetition. You can't just go to the gym once. And even if you keep going to the gym for 10 years, if you stop, you're reversing the effects of all the work that you've done. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep repeating the same behaviors to maintain the same environment in your body. Same is true of our minds, right? Same is true of our nervous system. Some of us feel like we can accumulate a rested nervous system and then go into chaos and not be affected by it. No, yes, you go to church all the time, but after you get out of church, you keep going back to these toxic relationships.
Sometimes church is chaotic. Ooh, did I say it? No, that wasn't. Oh, not your church.
No, not my church.
The other girl church.
The other person's church. Yeah, sometimes church is chaotic.
Yeah,
And that's the complexities that people who come to see me wrestle with. Sometimes the place that I go for healing is the place that is actually harming me. How do I reconcile that?
Yeah.
How do I deal with that? And so I walk with them through what I think is the hardest thing to do in the healing process. And the one thing that God requires of us as worshipers is to tell the truth. You don't have to lie about the environment that you are in to please God. He's not pleased by the lie, and he sees the truth.
Right.
You telling the truth is actually about you, right? There's an idea that is called name it to tame it. When we feel distress in our bodies, it comes from the right posterior part of our brain called the amygdala. So it sends these neurotransmitters saying you're stressed out, you're in pain, you're not feeling good. And they found that when you use the left side of your brain, which has the functioning for language, when you put words to how you feel, it actually calms down the neurotransmitters on the right side of your brain that are telling you that you're in distress, right? That's why the word says, confess your sins to one another that you may be healed. The confession's not because God's not aware. The confession's healing for you. It's restoration for you. So some of us are trying to experience healing, but we're too afraid to tell the truth about the things that are harming us.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched one of your on your YouTube channel. You did a whole video about when you talk about the nervous system.
Yeah.
The one thing that we have control over is our breath,
Yeah.
and we can just slow our breath down.
Yeah.
Focus on our breathing.
Yeah.
Focus on how we're breathing in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. When we use our breath, we use the one thing that as long as you're alive, you have access to, right? So the body has the sympathetic nervous system, which is the system that is activated when we are stressed out, running from a bear, going into a big meeting. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system. That's called the rest and digest system. That's the system that is the Netflix and chill. I'm hanging out with my girlfriends. I'm just chilling, right? And simply slowing our breath, breathing in through our nose, letting our belly get big, breathing out through our mouth slowly. It actually switches which nervous system is being activated. So if I'm anxious, I can stop, I can close my eyes. And with my breath, I can literally change the biological environment that I'm existing in. It creates a new reality for me to step into, which if we go back to Genesis, right? God breathes into creation. He speaks into creation. With his breath, he creates. And with our breath, we have the opportunity to do the same because we're made in his likeness.
Yeah. You were saying before we got on camera, you talked about your husband, and you said that he was not a believer in therapy. He's a PK.
PK.
And
PK.
so he was like, it was very much pray and it's going to go away. Until he had his first panic attack and he had to learn the power of his own breath.
Yes. I like to tell people my husband believed in me, but he didn't believe in therapy. Like he loved being like, oh, my wife is a therapist. And if you look closely, there are a lot of people who are like that, who'll tell you to go to therapy, but they won't go to therapy.
Yeah.
Tell you to go get help, but they won't go get help. And that version of him was, oh, I love my wife. She's great. And yeah, I will never forget. I finished seeing clients. It was the evening. I came home and I said, Kyle, I knew he was upstairs. I didn't hear anything. And I'm a true crime or was a true crime girly. So I immediately am like, what, who's in the house? Like, if anyone's in the house, like panicking a little bit. And I go upstairs and I just hear this like in the closet. And I open up the closet and he's sitting there and he's grabbing his chest. And he's like, I think I'm having a heart attack. And I just knew, and I looked at him and I said, no, you're having a panic attack.
Wow.
And I got on the ground with him and I just wrapped my arms around him and just said, just follow my breath. And I breathed with him until he could, have his nervous system regulated. And then he just broke down crying. And I didn't have to say anything. It wasn't a moment to teach or to scold. It was really a moment to just dwell with him. And over the next couple of weeks, he was like, I think I need help. And I think I need support. He was a black man in corporate America, one of the only in the entire organization carrying the weight of performance, perfectionism, all of the things. And, you know, he was the pray it away Christian, but he was praying and it wasn't going away.
Yeah.
And sometimes God does not answer the prayers that we're praying because there's a different prayer we need to be asking.
Ooh. Hold on. Wait a minute, Kobe. Wait a minute.
It's the
Rewind the
truth.
track.
Yeah.
You said sometimes what?
God doesn't answer the prayer that we're asking him for because there's a different prayer he wants to position us to ask. And for him, that prayer was to have the humility to go get help. Because him getting a direct answer from God would not have quenched the pride. And that was the core issue. The core issue was, I don't need anybody and I can handle it by myself. But God positioned him in a way that there was no option but to go get help from somebody.
Yeah.
And so the prayer he really needed to pray, and I began to pray with him, was the courage to be humble and say, to go expose myself to someone and say, I need help. I need support.
Yeah. I mean, you are a faith-based therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are people who are leery of faith-based therapists. They're like, oh, no, don't be using no Bible up in here now.
Yeah.
You use that textbook they gave you at that university you went to.
Yeah.
And so how do you temper? How do you bring in or keep out with certain clients that you're working with?
Yeah. Before I even start working with them, I let them know, hey, I have a state license and I also have a degree in Christian counseling. And you have the opportunity to utilize those to the best of your desire and in any way you want. I will only bring up faith as much as you bring up faith. And I only operate within your faith context. So I'm not here to try and evangelize to you. I'm not here to try and judge you. The only ways in which I will challenge your faith are ways in which I see you operating outside of your expressed values.
Oh, wow.
So you set the tone, and I step into your experience of faith with you and help you remain aligned with the faith that you ascribe to. And I think that often makes people more curious.
Yeah.
You know, because they
imagine.
don't feel like they have to prove. It's not like, well, I have this belief, because it's like, no, I'm here with you, and yeah, teach me about what you believe.
Yeah.
Like, you are the expert of your experience, and I'm just here to be a student of your experience so I can apply that to my expertise, and we can put that together and serve you in the best way.
But I can only imagine, though, when people come in contact with you and they see you on social media, they see you on the different stages and places that you go to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the stages with Sarah Jakes at Woman Evolve, and you're doing, a tour that you're gearing up for right now. By the time this airs, you'll already, I'm sure, be on tour, maybe. What tour? The tour starts what day?
October 21st.
Okay, we'll probably drop this before the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gearing up for this tour, with Tasha Cobb and Dr. Jackie Green, who are all friends of the show. I mean, I'm sure that most people, when they see you, they got to know what they're getting into, right? Yeah.
For the most part, most people come and they already have a very similar and aligned faith perspective. But I do get a lot of people who say, I like the way that you operate around faith, period. I'm not religious, but your compassion is something that compels me. And so I have a lot of clients who are not believers, but are curious outside of session, right? The way that I'm present with them, the way that I care for them, the way that I'm there for them the same way I would be there for someone who is a believer, rather. And for them, I actually had a client, this is a story that touches me, years ago, who was like abused in the church. Absolutely. Don't say nothing religious, right?
So church hurt. Yeah.
Lots of church trauma, right? If someone got in a car crash, we wouldn't say, oh, you got car hurt. It's baby talk.
Yeah.
These are grown people who are wounded in serious ways.
Yeah.
And so I always think that we have to remember, sometimes we try to diminish the effects of how the church harms people, right? We can't say we're the hands and feet of Jesus when we're helping, but not the hands and feet of Jesus when we're hurting.
Ooh. Oh, well, Kobe came over
You
here to
know.
drop some bars today.
There's accountability.
Listen,
Like,
yeah.
as a Christian who's a part of a church, we have to take accountability for the way that we harm people, and we have to be honest about the fact that we have traumatized some people.
Yeah.
You know, but this client was someone who was deeply traumatized in the church setting, and I never brought up faith for her, never. But little did I know she was following the work I was doing outside of session. And one session she came in and was like, I just wanted to let you know I started going to church again.
Wow.
I said, really? Like, I was shocked. I was like, tell me more. And she was like, I realized that the type of Christians that I encountered that enabled my hurt are not the only Christians out there.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if I still believe in God, but I'm willing to rediscover and like re-engage this to see if it aligns with me, because I've met people like you and I've gotten connected to other people who embody the things that you embody. So for me, it's important that I'm a Christian. I'm unapologetic about that, but I believe that all people are made in the image of God and deserve the dignity that is bestowed upon them because they have the face of Jesus.
Yeah.
You know?
The face of Jesus. I mean, we have the face of Jesus.
Yeah.
But there's a story that we've been telling ourselves along the way.
Yeah.
And we're just living out that story,
Yep.
replaying it every single day.
Yep.
When you're meeting with your clients and the people that you work with, what is that reoccurring story that you hear more often than not?
Ooh. There is something fundamentally wrong with me, which is very different from there is a wound that has not been tended to that is affecting every area of my life.
There's a wound that hasn't been tended to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's like not even like, oh, I have a wound. It's like, no, who I am to my core, something that cannot be changed, the very essence of who I am is just wrong or bad or defective or unlovable. And so as I go through their stories with them, I help them realize, no, there's just this, your leg's been broken for 10 years.
Right.
And you keep trying to run.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And you're wondering, it's like, no, actually you can run one day, but let's tend to that leg.
Yeah.
And because it's been a long time, it may have just needed a cast before, and now we need surgery. That's hard to accept, but it's just true. But I think that a lot of the stories we live in are the stories that have been told to us, and then stories that we continue to tell ourselves. I like to use the metaphor of twinkle, twinkle, little
star.
Your brain said star before you even had the option to not say it.
Yeah.
That's how repetition works. That you hear a song so much that nobody needs to play it anymore. The song lives inside your head now.
I know. Cash Money Records taking over for the 9-9s and the 2. You know, it's like.
Lord,
I know, Doctor. You don't listen to that.
I don't.
But when I heard repetition and like a song, it was like Cash Money Records taking over for the 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because your brain had stored it away. We absorb the environments that we're in.
Yeah.
That all the little pieces of the things that you allow yourself to be in over and over and over and over again, they become a part of you.
Yeah.
They become a part of your internal experience. And so for many of us, we've been spoken over in ways that are harmful, treated in ways that are painful. And because it's something that we absorbed so long ago, we think it's part of who we are. And it's not. There's a process of you being able to go back, process, and say, that's not mine. I'm holding, like, one thing I say to my clients is, whose voice is that?
Yeah. That was the one thing in my therapy journey I had to, I'm carrying other people's story, right? This is something I've learned. This is something that, I've just been listening to. I'm carrying other people's bags. And I think so often we're weighted down by the bags that aren't even ours.
Nope.
Ours.
They're not even ours. But sometimes someone has to tell you that's not yours.
Yeah.
Someone has to be like, that doesn't, like when I talk with my clients, I'm like, that doesn't even sound like you. We've been working together for 3 years. That does not sound like you. Whose voice is that? And what's funny is they're like, my mom's, my aunts, my grandma's, they had, like, their brain knows whose voice that is. And it's like, okay, well, like, let's start talking back to that voice.
Yeah.
Let's start stepping away from that voice and let's start replacing that voice with something else.
How do you talk nicely to yourself if you've been speaking so negatively for so many years?
If speaking negatively to yourself was not an option, what would you say?
Yeah.
I like to, humor for me is a big part of this work. It's so heavy that sometimes you have to infuse a little humor. And I'm like, if you could not do this thing, if you had to solve this problem or you were going to jail for 20 years, what would you do? Sometimes we are not, I say this with love, sometimes we're not desperate enough to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Like, if they were going to come take your child, if you didn't solve this problem, what would you do? All of a sudden, there's so many
Here
options.
come all the solutions, baby.
All of a sudden, there's all these
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like, no, there were options that you were keeping at bay because you just weren't desperate enough to be humble enough to access and utilize those options.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's okay to say, speaking poorly about myself is no longer an option. My only options are to encourage myself. If I'm down, I'm not going to reflect in the moment every single time what I feel. I'm going to speak over myself what I want myself to feel, or I'm going to speak over myself what can help me get from what I feel to what I want to feel.
Yeah.
You know?
Elliot Connie just did the show, and he said that the world is an algorithm that wants to give us everything we want.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
And wants us to hear whatever will make us feel good in the moment. And I think that's a lot of like the hard work of therapy is I am here to validate your experience, but I'm here to validate it so that you can know where we're starting, not so that you can stay here and feel entitled to act out of that pain.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
like it's true. Even like AI, ChatGPT, if you look at the reason why there's an asterisk at the bottom that says maybe incorrect is because AI, if you look at the founders who talk about it, they say AI was not designed to be accurate. It was designed to give you the answer that you're looking for. So they're calculating what answer are you looking for, not necessarily what's the right answer. And for many of us, we are looking to be only validated, but at some point you have to be challenged.
You have to be challenged. I mean, so what you bring up AI was not on my radar to talk about, but there's so many people now who are using ChatGPT as their therapist. Some of y'all right now, like, I don't want to pay for no therapist. I'm using Chat. Y'all calling Chat, Chatisha, Chadrick, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Baby, y'all done named him all kind of stuff.
That was a good one. My goodness. My personal thoughts, don't do it. Personal thoughts.
Do not use ChatGPT as your therapist. You would not recommend that.
I would not recommend it for several reasons. The type of work I do is experiential, meaning that I don't just process with my clients' words. I help them restore experiences that they've missed, right? So if you grew up in a house where you didn't get to share your opinion, it was like, kids are to be seen and not heard. Our sessions for the first couple months might be, what's on your mind? I don't interrupt you. I'm letting you, because I'm rewiring your nervous system to have reference for moments where you were simply listened to, right? That's a clinical intervention, active listening. I'm listening to you, I'm present. ChatGPT can't give you presence. A lot of what's restorative about therapy, about a lot of the mental health things I do, like my Oasis retreat, it is the intangible but undeniable experiences we have. That's what therapy is about, understanding our past experiences so that we can give ourselves restorative experiences. You can't get that from a chatbot.
Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned your Oasis retreat, and this is something you're very proud of.
Yes,
you have so many faith-based women, so many Christian women who come to experience that type of connection, that type of interaction, that type of restoration.
Yeah.
And so what are you hoping to achieve? Because this is, how many years have you been doing this?
This is year 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you learned about yourself in these 7 years of doing this retreat? And then tell us a little bit about the retreat.
Yes. So what I've learned about myself is this is not about me. That like God will give me such attention, such presence, such intimacy in my personal life so that when I get out there, I don't need that from the people. I got that from God. And everything he's poured out, like this is not about, ooh, is that embarrassing? No, just do what God told you to do. Like this is not about you because people's lives are on the line. Like what I love about Oasis is it's not just a retreat of like, kumbaya and holding hands. It is like we are snatching people off of the ledge. There are women who are like, I didn't know if I was going to make it to the retreat because I didn't know if I was going to be alive. Like these are women who are desperate and hurting and feel like this is their last resort. And so I feel proud of the way that we have used tenderness as the lens to challenge.
Tenderness as the lens to challenge.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I think that we think that the way to get someone to move is to be mean to them, scream at them, get up, you need to do it. Now, sometimes you need to do that.
That's kind of my style. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what? That is a
Kinda my
style.
Kind of works. You know what I'm saying?
No, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
As soft as you talk, Kobe, I'm literally sitting up here like, Lord have mercy. I was like, I know I'm out here sounding like Jillian Michaels from The Biggest Loser.
Stop, not Julia Michaels. But you know what? That type of communication works when you have a trusting relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
When you have a trusting relationship, because I
sure.
have people who be like, girl, what are you doing? And I can receive that because I've already experienced the tenderness and the love from them, that I know the source from which that intensity comes from.
It's genuine. It's
Yeah.
real. It's love.
Yeah, I know that. But for a lot of these women, they come from many times abusive backgrounds. So now if I come and raise my voice and I'm coming in the name of God, am I reinforcing that God is an abuser just like the person you're struggling to get away from?
Oof.
Many times. But what I'm doing is I'm exposing them to a part of God that many of them have not been taught about, many of them have not been exposed to. And one thing I love to say, because I believe it's true, fear motivates quickly. Love motivates sustainably.
Fear motivates quickly. Love motivates sustainably.
You can scare someone into getting up and running quick. But you want someone to be a long distance runner, it's going to take time, care, patience, attentiveness, right? Presence with that person. And so for these women, we we all but drown them in love and grace and the tenderness of God. And you want to know what happens when someone feels all that love? They believe in themselves. And you want to know what happens when someone believes in themselves? They start asking themselves, if I love myself, why am I letting myself be treated this way? And that becomes the catalyst for change.
Kobe, let me tell you. Now here go our therapy session. You see how they look at you? Come on, lean in. That was the thing that got me to stop drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
And my last drink was February 27th. I have not had a drink since February 27th.
Congratulations.
And I had one glass of wine at the Four Seasons. You know, I was there, y'all. But I had that one glass of wine. I felt so miserable the next day. I was sluggish. I couldn't get through my workout. I was just like, I just felt awful and groggy and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I asked myself that day, I said, if you love yourself, why would you want to continue to do this to yourself?
Yeah.
Why would you want to feel like this? If you love yourself, Brandy. And because of that love, I have not had another drink because I said, I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is the way that sustainable change happens, because every time you start to question, like, oh, maybe I could just have a drink, your reference is not going to be fear, it's going to be love.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's it. Because every time I've been girl, I'd have been to Vegas, honey, Miami, honey, all the party cities where shots is happening. Okay?
Yeah.
And I have like, because I don't want to feel like that.
Yes.
I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to build myself up from that. I don't want to have to try to get myself over that hump.
Yep.
And that's the part. It's because I love myself too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people are trying to be scared into change. It doesn't last.
Yeah.
Fear, like when you think about what fear does to the nervous system, is it turns off your cognitive processing. You're not thinking, you're just reacting.
Exactly.
You're just reacting to what's happening around you. And so for many of these women, they're used to reacting because of the environments that they're coming from. And we're giving them a place to just like lay back.
An oasis.
An oasis. An oasis. So we are proud this year. We're doing it different. Usually we do about between 15, 20 women. This year we're doing about 40 women.
Oh, wow.
And, my husband and I were praying, and we just felt because, obviously the political climate that we're in, the cuts in DEI and support, sponsorships, this year alone, since the presidency, 300,000 women have black
Black
women
women,
have been
yeah.
pushed out of the workforce. So there's a paradox that the most wounded people are the least resourced to do something about their wounding. And so in a big act of faith, we decided we're going to cover it.
Wow.
We are covering the entire expense of Oasis, that it's going to be $100,000. And we just decided, God, when's the last time we jumped and believed big for you? One thing we know is God doesn't abandon his kids. He does not abandon his people.
Yeah.
That he will resource for things that he has ordained.
Oof.
And so we've just been like, God, whoever wants to show up and serve and show up with us, good. But if no one does, we are going to do it because we believe that the lives and the generations and the families, the children that will be affected by this, we know that you're doing something that in the world that discards women who look like us, we've decided that we're going to create an Oasis just for them.
Kobe, first of all, you an old soul girl, cause I had clocked your age, before we got on, baby. You, honey, you read way older, honey, than what you are.
You know what? I received that.
Yeah, in a good way though,
Yeah.
right? Because there's such great wisdom that you have, and there's a real grounded nature to you. There's a groundedness in your spirit. It's so calm. It is. I mean, you are a therapist, so this is like. These are the things that we should be saying about a therapist for sure.
Yes,
but you just have this wisdom, you have this knowledge, you have this self-assuredness, you have this assuredness about yourself. And I think that comes from your faith. I think that comes from the anchoring that you have in your spiritual journey.
I agree.
That gives you that type of resonance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I 1,000% agree. I feel like I like to tell my clients, I'm not scared of the dark. You can tell me the truth. Because I've been in the dark. I've been in the dark to the point where I didn't think I would get out of the dark. But like, truly, there is a God out there who cared enough about me when I wasn't even looking for him. I wasn't going to church. I didn't meet God at an altar. I met God in a dorm room.
Yeah.
I was not pursuing God, but God pursued me. And there is a deep down peace when you know that there's someone who got your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got your back. I think so many people, they feel very alone out in the world. They don't feel like somebody has their back.
Yeah.
And they feel like, well, wait a minute. I keep falling. I keep relapsing. I keep making mistakes. And you said that there are 6 stages of change.
Yeah.
1, pre-contemplation. 2, contemplation.
Yeah.
3, renewal. 3, preparation. 4, action. 5, maintenance. 6, relapse.
Yeah.
Relapse is a part of renewal. All change requires making mistakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we think that if you are serious about change, you make the change just once and you never have to deal with any part of it, right? And that doesn't mean that we go back to the same actions, but you might have to go back to contemplation, right? That's what we just talked about when you were mentioning like, okay, why do I not want to do this? We're going back to contemplation. We're going back to the reason. I don't want to do this because I love myself. Okay, right. So let me stick with this decision. For many of us, we think relapse is failure. Relapse is an opportunity to learn more about how you can be committed to the change that you're seeking. It's like, man, I got a little confident and I thought I didn't need accountability. How did I get here? I got here because I was just depending on my own thoughts, feelings, whatever. Okay, I need accountability. Okay, I messed up again, but I have accountability. What's the issue? You know what? I don't have a set time to communicate with my accountability partners. I just get too busy and I'm like, oh, I'll tell them about it later. And then I never tell them about it. Okay, now you have a set time. That like our ability to face the hardship of messing up, that is, I think, the greatest determinant of whether we can endure long-lasting change. How quickly can you just go from point A to point B, but how do you treat yourself when you mess up? Do you use that fear to motivate yourself? Or do you remind yourself, even when I made this mistake, I am loved. And because I'm loved, I'm sticking to this decision.
Yeah. Sometimes I got to get gangster with myself, Kobe. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I got to be knucking and bucking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a thing that, sometimes, but then there are moments that I have to be really, really loving. I have to be like, Brandy, you got this, girl.
Yes.
You could do this. My little nephew used to be like, BJ, you got this, BJ. Like, you could do this, BJ. You got this, BJ.
Yeah.
When he was a little baby. And I have to remind myself, like, you got this, Brandy. You can do this, Brandy. You can do this. But then it's like this morning, I'm like, I told myself before I went to sleep last night, I said, Brandy, when the alarm goes off,
Yes.
baby, you cannot hit the snooze.
Yeah.
I was sitting there when I was getting in the bed, girl.
Yes.
I said, you cannot hit the snooze, Brandy.
Yeah.
You gotta go when it's time to go.
Yes. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. That's when I go to the gym, I tell myself, you don't have to like it to do it. You don't have to like it to do it. I mean, lifting them weights, you don't have to like it to do it. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. You
don't have to like it to do it.
And so I think that sometimes people can resist the idea of tenderness because they think it's babying. But it's like, no, it's creating a solid foundation. Like Matthew 7 talks about the house built on sand and the house built on rock. That like love is the rock. Because the word tells us that God is love. God is love. And so if you're building on something other than the love of God, other than love for yourself, love and care for other people, when a storm, it'll stand on a sunny day, but when the storm comes, it will fall.
Yeah. You talk so much about the storm. You said because the storm is so necessary and people just want to skip past the storm. But the storm is necessary to the process.
You don't know the integrity of a thing until the thing has been tested. The difference between the house in Matthew 7 that stands and the house that falls is the integrity of it. Now, not to get too deep, but it says that
we go deep here. We dive deep.
Let's go
into the lives of some of the world's most influential. You here, baby?
Yeah, well, you know what? You're right. Let's go. It says that both of them heard the words of Jesus, but only one of them applied the words of Jesus. A lot of us are hearing the same motivation, but not everyone's applying it, right? And so we like to think like, oh, if people aren't doing right or people are not living a certain way, they can't build anything. But that's not what Matthew 7 shows us. Matthew 7 shows us that people can hear a word and build something that looks just like the thing that we're building. They can build great things, but we'll only know the integrity of what they've built when a storm comes. It says that the flood rose and the house stood. It says that the rain came, the house stood, but it wasn't until the wind blew. So they built a house that could withstand the flood, withstand the rain, but they could not build a house that could withstand the wind. The wind in Scripture represents change. It represents power. When you think about on a scientific level, what is wind? Wind is the product of an atmosphere shifting, right? The atmosphere shift and then a gust blows. No one's ever seen the wind, but we've only seen the effects of the wind.
Yeah.
The effect of the wind is what happens to the things that we've built. What happens in this atmosphere? I think for a lot of people, they built something like, the flood came, we were good. The rain came, we were good. But then the flood you can see. The rain you can see. But this invisible thing, this thing that feels like it should be so much less important than the flood or the rain, came and it blows down everything. And you have this moment where you're in a divorce, your children are sick, you lose your job, and it feels like it came out of nowhere. And this isn't to blame or to say like, oh, you didn't build a house of integrity, but it is an opportunity to go back to the foundation to say, what am I building on? Am I building on, am I just hearing good words and then being like, ooh, that looks cute, let me build? Or are you saying, I'm going to live this out? I'm going to live out the words of Jesus. I'm going to live out a life of love, a life of service, a life of honesty, a life of integrity. And I think, especially in this era, we're seeing a lot of houses fall.
Yeah.
Because the wind's blowing, the intangible atmosphere shift that God ordains has come. And so a lot of people who have built really pretty houses, who have endured many things, the wind's blowing.
When you look at the landscape of social media, in your business of mental health, because everybody now is a IG therapist, because they're going to be in the comments. Everybody they're a clinician in the comments. I have passed on here, everybody becomes a theologian. They all know the Bible. I'd be like, where did y'all come from? So in this age of social media and Chat GPT and everybody passing around all the terminology, how do you weather the storm in your own life?
When I have my own therapist and I have my own pastor, shout out to Pastor Jeff and Pastor Jazz, the good thing about all this information is because there's so much information, there's a premium on wisdom.
So good. So good.
Everyone, you can get information anywhere.
So good.
But wisdom, the ability to apply it contextually to the person and the experience, You can't manufacture that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I surround myself with people that I know have wisdom. And I think that for any person who is an expert in any area, there is a temptation to think that you don't need as much help because of what you know. But I have to remind myself that, like, I have more knowledge than most about just how human I am.
Ooh. Just
You
how
know?
human you are.
Yeah, like this is like the information I have is not an excuse to get less help. Really, it's a call to get more, you know? And so I have my therapist, I have my friends, I go to my own retreats and get the support that I need. I call my sister when I'm down. You know, I try to make sure that my life is accountable because people who have power and people who have information oftentimes feel like it's a pass for accountability. And I'm very aware of that. And I know that I have to be very careful.
Yeah. You said a pass for accountability. What does that look like?
Touch not my anointed. But he just put his hands on somebody. That's not okay. Well, he's a man of God. He makes mistakes. How do we respond to someone else who makes mistakes like that? I think they end up in handcuffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just kind of like this, just because you say, I am a man of God, woman of God, if anything, that holds you to a higher accountability, not a lower one. And sometimes we like to think that because we love God in the church, that we can do more heinous things with less accountability. And that's just not true.
This mental health, politics, what we see and going on, social media, how do those intersect in your practice?
Woo!
Blink 3 times.
You know, there is a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
I make sure I have my people because there's a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
My personal opinions, thoughts, feelings, the work I do is not an appropriate place to release those.
Yeah.
And I have to hold on to that, right? And what helps me hold on to that is curiosity. Tell me more. I may not agree with what you're saying, but there's a story behind this.
Absolutely.
Help me. I want to know the story behind what you're believing. Okay. And there's always a deeper issue. It's never just about political policies. It's about core beliefs. So let's get to the core beliefs beneath the political perspective that you have. You know, whether it's someone I agree with or don't agree with. I can say it makes it a more emotionally heavy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Very
Especially
for
right
sure.
now, you know, where Christianity and the Constitution have become synonymous with one another.
Yeah. And we're dealing with an epidemic of Christian nationalism.
Absolutely.
And many people support it and many people do not support it.
Yeah.
Right. And so having to remain curious, remain present, remain loving.
That's the real thing, is to remain loving, you know? And I think that becomes really difficult when opinions don't, you know, they don't align. Yeah.
Yeah.
You say something, trauma is not just about what happened to you, but what happened inside of you. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of us think that our trauma is like, you hit me in the knee with the hammer. That was an incident. That's not the trauma. The trauma is the wound that you carry because you were hit in the knee with a hammer. Because I can take that hammer, I could throw it into the ocean. The hammer's gone now. Does that mean your trauma's gone? No. The moment can pass, but the wound can still persist. And for many people, I use that example because people are like, but it happened so long ago. That doesn't matter how long it happened. The trauma, the incident happened so long ago. The trauma is still happening.
Yeah. It's the tremor effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The trauma is still happening, right? The trauma is it's occurring right now in the moment. We know that because it's affected how your body responds, how you see and perceive the world, how you think about yourself, how you view God, how you relate to other people. And so I start there with people who are like, I don't think, oh, well, it happened so long ago. And it's like, yeah, it happening so long ago does not mean the trauma is not affecting you right now. And the number one thing that trauma does is it affects what we believe about ourselves. When I deal with my clients and I'm doing EMDR, which is the trauma modality that I use the most in office, we're not processing what they did, he did, she did. Sometimes people think that trauma is just blaming your parents. You know, trauma
Yeah.
therapy is like, well, what did your parents do? No, we go through the incidents so we can boil down. And what did this make you believe about yourself?
So I want you to go back because for our audience who may not be familiar, EMDR, I want you to explain that a little more.
Yes, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. And what it is it's the process of using bilateral stimulation, which is a natural process we use. When we're walking, riding a bike, that's bilateral stimulation, right? That's also why exercise can bring up so many emotions for people. And when we use bilateral stimulation, think about your past experiences as a Microsoft Word file. The Microsoft Word file is opened by bilateral stimulation. Now we go back to that file, and that file is something that happened to you when you were 6. So you open it, and there's a bunch of typos, and the words are all spelled wrong, and you like, I understand what you're saying, but like this saved file that is like the SOP for my life was written by a 6-year-old. So now we're going back to the wounds of the past with the wisdom of the present, and we're adding in notes and saying, this was originally written by a 6-year-old. This was the perspective of a 6-year-old. I'm now 32. These are the things that I now know. It's a way to help people process not just the thoughts of what happened to them, but the biological effects of what happened to them by re-exposing them to it in a safe environment, which is why you need a professional to do it, so that they're not overwhelmed, right? That's what the desensitization. That you might have, gotten in a car accident and now you're so overwhelmed every time you see a car. We're going to slowly bring you back to that car accident so your body can understand car accidents happen, but they don't always happen. There are moments where you can be safe in a car so your body can build that desensitization to cars. I love it. It's what actually made me want to become a therapist. It's where, I will never forget doing my own EMDR session and literally feeling the Holy Spirit there with me. And me being like, people need to experience this.
Yeah.
And for there to be memories that would bring me to my knees that now I can think back to and not be overwhelmed by, that is a gift that many people are searching for and something I love to offer in the work I do.
Yeah. It's fantastic work, which you wrote the book, Why Am I Like This?
Yeah.
Your book, Why Am I Like This? This book really required a lot of deep self-reflection. And so when you talk about that moment of being in your own sessions of the Holy Spirit coming down and you having these remembering moments. So what was the hardest chapter for you to personally write in this book?
The hardest chapter was chapter 1, where I recount my suicide attempt, which is also the moment where I met God, really encountered God by myself for the first time. And I think the hardest part about that chapter was telling the truth, because it starts with me accounting, and I'll let you guys read it, accounting this experience, and then the Holy Spirit's there, and a friend is like, God sees you and he's there for you. And you really want to be like, the end. Bow on there.
Put the bow on there, yeah.
Glory to God,
Amen.
All is healed,
Yeah.
all is well, But that wasn't my story. My story was I gave my life to Christ because I encountered God in a miraculous way, and then I was depressed again. And then I was anxious again. Then I was having panic attacks again. And I was like, what is going on? And it wasn't until I went to a therapist, and she was a Christian therapist, that she helped me understand, like, hey, the nightmares you're having, the things that are coming up, these are childhood experiences or traumatic experiences. Let's process that. And so I got to experience what it means to walk with God through healing. Not just, and for me, that gave me greater confidence in God, because I got to see him respond to the intricacies of my stories, not just the magic wand of it don't hurt no more. Like, no, I remember this exact memory. How do I get over this memory?
Yeah.
And going through EMDR and feeling the Holy Spirit there and the memory literally being desensitized. Like, I have more confidence in God because he didn't answer my prayer the way I wanted him to. He answered it in a way that took me through a journey, and each step of the journey gave me greater confidence in him and greater faith that healing is possible for myself. If it's possible for me, it's definitely possible for other people.
Yeah.
So that's the faith that gives me a groundedness when I work with clients. Like, they can come scattered, in despair, afraid, shaking, sometimes even throwing up because they're so ravaged by their experience. And I can sit with just a calm presence because I'm like, oh yeah, this is nothing for God.
Yeah.
You're about to change your life.
It's
Even if
nothing
they're
but
not a
God.
believer.
Yeah. What's interesting in hearing that story is the fact that there's been a few psychotherapists who have sat across from me. One, Elliot Connie, who was just here, Dr. J. Barnett,
Yeah.
and you all have had this common story of suicide
Yeah.
being a part of the story.
Yeah.
Is that the part of you feeling like I had to have that rock bottom moment? I had to have that deep, dark encounter to be able to walk into this journey of healing and to bring other people to their own healing?
It's a good question. I don't know if I had to have it, but I do know God is using it. Like I asked God that. I'm like, did I have to go through all of that?
Yeah.
And then when I'm sitting in front of a woman, that's not the question I'm asking. I'm glad. I'm thanking God
That you're here.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I'm here and that I can have faith for her. You don't have to. I tell my client, you don't have to have faith. I got that part. You just take the next step.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe it's going to work. Trust me. I do this for a living. Like, I have the faith for you.
In your own moment of despair, was it a sense of hopelessness? Was it sadness? Was it depression? Was it all three?
It was all and tiredness. The greatest predictor for suicidality is feeling tired and feeling like there's no way for you to not be tired looking forward.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
People who are absolutely exhausted. Like, it doesn't have to be I was abused. It can be that, right? But oftentimes when I'm working with the women I work with, a lot of times I'm working 4 jobs. I'm tired. And I can't imagine a world where I won't have to keep doing this.
Wow.
But I feel like I can't keep doing this. Do I want to keep living?
Yeah.
Right? Do I want to keep being here? And so I think for many of us, there's a hopelessness that persists in the silence of not sharing our experience, right? The silence of like, I'm carrying this, but, I feel like no one can help me with it. So what's the point in sharing? But there is a point in sharing because there might be a spiritual resource that someone can give you that will affect the physical resource that you have to keep going.
Yeah, the physical resource. If you were speaking to a woman who's at the Oasis retreat right now and she felt desperate, she felt like she was in despair, what would you say to her into that camera right there?
I would say cry out because we got you. One of the number one things that women struggle with when they come to the retreat is like they'll cry and they'll like clamp their mouths closed. And we'll literally have to be like, you have to open your mouth and let the sound out. Like, if you've been to Oasis, there are blood-curdling screams. There are like deep, generational, ancestral screams of agony. And when you release that, we'll be here. We'll be here.
As we begin to close out,
Yeah.
one word you're committed to in the season of your life.
Faith.
Why?
I want to see something done that's never been done. The good thing about being pulled back from the edge is that the edge doesn't scare you anymore. Like that used to be the place where I thought I was going to jump, take my life, end things. And now it's like there is an all-seeing, omnipotent God. If I jump, I'm going to be caught by something. And so if he tells me to jump, I can only imagine what's going to be there for me.
This was so good, Kobe. I really
Thank you for
enjoyed
having
you.
me. I enjoyed
Thank
chatting. It
you.
was
I
good.
mean, I want to come to the Oasis retreat.
Come.
Listen, I think I'm on the next one.
Come.
Listen, Vault and Powers Talks, another good one for the books. Be sure to share this with someone who needs a little more faith in their life, who might need to be pulled from the edge. Until next time, I'm your girl, Brandy Harvey. Eat well. Give a damn. Move your body every single day. Peace.